make it up through additional sales tax revenue. Andrew, at least that's the normal. Thank you.
That's it.
Good.
Accidentally passed the 6 o'clock mark. We are going to call this meeting to order. Could we have Kylie Faulkner come up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? If y'all would stand with me.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kylie, can I give you this as a token of our appreciation? It's a lapel pin. Thank you so much. Alderman Piper, would you give our invocation for us, please?
Yes, sir. Dear God, we thank you so much for this beautiful day you created for us, the time that we have to meet here, discuss the business of our wonderful city of Hernando. We thank you for everyone that's here. We ask that you would guide our decision-making to glorify you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Can I have a motion to approve this amended agenda that has added the discussion of the noise ordinance that I inadvertently left off that was supposed to be on here from a tabling August 3rd?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it sits in front of me here, the amended agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Alderman Robinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Next is to approve the docket of claims.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion passes. Next is to approve the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting on August 17th, special meeting August 24th, and the recessed meeting August 26th, and the recessed meeting August 31st.
Motion to approve
There's a motion from
Second.
Alderman Piper, and maybe
I second.
a second from Alderman Harris. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next, we'll have a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes as well. Item 8 is the request from the Hernando High School, represented by Margaret Hicks, to temporarily close the streets for the Hernando High School Homecoming Parade, October 7th. Margaret, if you would come up and speak into the mic so everyone can hear you.
Hello, I'm Margaret Hicks. I've been the parade coordinator for 10 years. Of course, we didn't have one last year. It was a little different for everybody. So we are thrilled to death to just get back to our homecoming festivities. And we would kindly invite all of you to participate. I know, Mayor, you've been involved with us in numerous parades. So we invite all of you to participate again this year. Our parade will be October 7th. Lineup will begin at 5 p.m. down Mount Pleasant Extended, paralleling the railroad tracks. The parade will begin at 6:30, and we'll take the usual parade route, similar to the Christmas parade, down Commerce Street, around the square, and end on Center.
Is everybody pretty much familiar with the parade route and okay with it? Chief Worsham, can you make sure that date's marked on your calendar? Okay. Anybody have any questions? If not, let's have a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Lynch. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Let us know what we can do to help you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Next, number 9 is to authorize to proclaim September 26, 2021 as Mrs. Fanny Cindy McLean Day. She'll be turning 100 on September 26th. So there's a proclamation in front of you. If someone would make a motion to approve that, we will get that to her.
Make a motion to approve and waive the reading.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is another proclamation to proclaim October National Down Syndrome Month. That proclamation is in front of you. Somebody wants to make a motion to approve it and waive the reading?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no, and that motion passes. And by the way, they have a picnic. The Down Syndrome Picnic is this Saturday at noon at Goodman Oaks Church of Christ up in South Haven. If any of y'all want to go, it is open. I'll be there presenting the proclamation, so if any one of you want to come get some free food, come on. All right, next is the Planning Commission. This is PL-1545, the request for final plat approval for the Fieldhouse subdivision, 2 lots, 19.84 total acres, located on the north side of Green Tea Road, west of Tullahoma Road and east of Mackinville Road in Section 32, Township 2 South, Range 7 West. Property is currently zoned in the C2 Highway Commercial District. Jordan Bledsoe of Bledsoe Engineering and Surveying, on behalf of Greg Jerome Wright, representing Joyce Estes LLC, owner of the property.
Okay. Just a little background on this item. It's been kind of a special deal in that the owner of the property is seeking to subdivide this additional lot, which is going to be purchased by the doctors at Ortho South, and they're going to build an office building there, you know, in conjunction with the sports complex. Well, and they got into kind of a time crunch with the closing on the property. And so the Planning Commission held a special meeting on August 24th in order to address the subdivision, and that's why it's on this meeting rather than normally we would have it on the second meeting of the month to try and comply with their time situation. One thing I would like to note, just in case anybody wondered, the actual acreage is 19.03 acres, and the reason for that differential, we received a revised graphic, which is in your staff report, just like the day the packets were going out. And I was able to adjust the staff report in order to reflect the new circumstances, but forgot about the agenda. So.
We'll make sure that whoever makes the motion does it correctly.
Okay. But anyway, as I mentioned, this is just a 2-lot subdivision. Lot 1, which is primarily the main piece of the property where the field house is located, is 15.10 acres. Whereas Lot 2, where the doctors will be building the office building, is 3.92 acres. So in terms of the C2 district, both properties are bigger than, wider than, longer than, meets all of the requirements for the C2 district. The Planning Commission, as I mentioned, reviewed this at a special meeting on August 24th, and based upon a finding that the submitted plat conformed to the requirements of the ordinance, voted unanimously to recommend approval. Now, one thing I would like to draw your attention to is item number 4 under the proposed motion. That's our standard provision concerning the installation of public improvements. Now, as you all know, I'm sure, when we approve typically a subdivision, we require that all of the improvements be put in place, and we typically only do a performance guarantee on the final layer of asphalt and sidewalks. Okay? In this situation, because they're trying to close and sell the lot, to the doctors, they have proposed to install the improvements at the same time that the building is being constructed. Okay? And I'll be quite frank with you, in terms of my experience in Olive Branch, that's not abnormal. We did that a number of times in Olive Branch for particularly commercial and industrial projects. The only thing that I would recommend beyond, of course, requiring that the performance guarantee cover all the improvements and not just those last two, is I'm also proposing that the improvements be in place before a final inspection and occupancy of the building is allowed. Okay? That basically just gives them an incentive to make sure that they get it done. And don't, because typically those letters of credit are good for a year, but I don't know that we want it to sit around for a year, So that just gives them an incentive. Now, as you'll see under 4, of course, not knowing what your preference would be, 4A is the standard provision. 4B, which is the alternative, is the language that would allow them to bond all of the improvements and require that the improvements be in place before final occupancy of the building is given. And that's my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Anybody have questions for BJ? Is there anyone here that wants to speak on behalf of the project? Is there anyone, any citizens that want to speak about this project?
Jordan Bledsoe with Bledsoe Engineering and Surveying. Just wanted to highlight that we do want to make the request to bond the improvements, as the construction will be, not tomorrow, but sometime in the future.
Can you clarify exactly what you're asking
So
there?
under condition 4 of the subdivision conditions, yeah, so we're part B of what he wanted to make sure that we are requesting the performance bond.
Okay, so you're in
For the-
agreement with what he was proposing?
Yes, for option B.
That makes it a lot easier.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anybody on the board have any questions? If not, can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve based upon the proposed motion, and that, another condition will be 1, 2, 3, 4B, and then 5 through 9.
Second.
Second from Alderman Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the motion passes. Okay, next is the follow-up discussion on the noise ordinance. If y'all remember, we did this on August 3rd, and the board made a motion to table it and ask our attorney to bring back a few suggestions for us to look at. Stephen, would you like to take over?
Alderman Wicker provided a couple of different passages out to you. Pass it now. He provided examples that are used in South Haven and in Olive Branch. This is the second. So I've given you a copy of the ordinances from Olive Branch, which is the simpler of the two. South Haven, which is a little bit more detailed. And since then, I've reviewed the ordinance for Oxford, Mississippi, which is obviously a college town, a lot more going on there. Oxford is decibel driven. Everything they do is decibel driven. In other words, the police are strapped with having to determine decibel levels at anything that causes a noise, pretty much. I've got a copy of that. If you would like to look at how that works in Oxford, it would be best to Google that. If you want to consider that as an option, that seems a little bit overboard in my view. We're not a college town, but we do have live music. That is pretty much the complaint that is being voiced before this board and before our city. So starting with Olive Branch, it's this one here. It's very simple, but it's also.
We need one more copy.
South Haven.
Well, South Haven.
Should be one there, yeah.
She'll give you hers.
Okay, so looking at Olive Branch, it's pretty straightforward. It's not, you don't have to read it 3 times to kind of figure out what's going on. Basically, they, with regard to music in particular, section 3N, which is at the top of the 3rd page. And I'll read it for the board and the mayor. The playing of music by a live band or other instruments or devices utilizing sound amplification equipment and/or the amplification of voices in any manner so as to disturb the peace and quiet of persons in the vicinity thereof is prohibited. Okay, so Olive Branch is no-go. No live music that would disturb anyone, in the vicinity. So if they're going to allow it in Olive Branch, it cannot disturb anyone, residential or commercial, around that business. Okay. Other than that, and second page, you look at yelling and shouting. These are specific unlawful noises. Yelling, shouting, hooting, whistling, singing, blowing horns, etc. That's in C. And D, pile drivers, hammers, etc. And they limit that between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. And that's the same with the use of tools in the next paragraph. So in Olive Branch, they're basically wanting it to be quiet for the most part all the time, particularly between 10 p.m. at night and 7 o'clock in the morning. They're very restrictive on music and live music. The permits are issued by the chief of police, and that's in section 5. They can grant temporary permits for certain activities, and then on the next page, they can issue permits for other activities. If someone is not happy with the chief of police issuing a permit, they can appeal it to the mayor and board within 10 days. And the chief of police has the authority to revoke any permit that was issued. Okay? That's Olive Branch in a nutshell. And you may want to take more time to study these after the discussion today, or you might want to vote on it.
This has been in place since 1994.
Let's see, is there a date on it?
Yeah, it was 94.
Okay. Yep, looks like it was passed on the 6th day of December, 1994. And I am relying on you, since you provided this to me, and I appreciate that. It saves the city of Hernando some money, so that's good.
That came from Mayor Adams.
Yeah, I saw that was sent from Ken Adams, the mayor of Olive Branch. Okay, so with South Haven, city of South Haven, there's a little bit more detailed. As you can see, it's longer. They start basically with their exemptions, okay? School bands, other school activities between 7 a.m. and midnight, those are exempt. Discretionary license or permits that has been issued for events, those are exempted. Activities in parks and public playgrounds are exempted from 7 a.m. to midnight. And then they basically talk about building noise on the second page there. they want that noise to happen between 7 o'clock a.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and between 9 a.m. and 6 on Sunday. They go into both ordinances deal with car noise, truck noise, bike noise, loud exhaust cars. They go into some details about how they want to manage that and govern that. There are some restrictions on that in both cities. They've got on the third page of their ordinance, they've got a language that deals with creating noise that would interfere with the school, hospital, or church. They give a prescription for that and tell us how they want to govern that. They use general language in several parts of their ordinance, which restricts noise that violates the standards of this chapter. That's the language that they use. You'll see that on page 3, on 3 different sections of that ordinance on page 3 here. So violation of the standards of the chapter, the standards are on the next page, just page 4, under general noise regulations. They set out standards that they want to their citizens to go by and when determining what noise is acceptable, what noise is not acceptable. You'll see section 10-121B, 1 through 7. They give just general standards that they want to have in place when considering whether something is lawful or unlawful. Then they give specific unlawful noises. Okay, they start with motor noises. They don't want backfiring engines. They don't want motor racing noises. Horns and signaling devices that aren't standard. They don't want yelling, shouting, hooting, whistling, singing, or blowing of horns between 12 p.m. and 7 a.m. Pile drivers, so it's I think they may have looked at each other's ordinances here. They use some of the same language, but and this is the same time, from 10 p.m. to 7. So both cities are basically wanting it to be quiet from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Okay, for the most part in the city of South Haven and Olive Branch. They have use of tools, loud tools, power saws, power planers, other things of that nature. Same thing. They want that to be restricted between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. So they want it to quiet down after 10 o'clock, which I think is good guidance for our city. Of course, you guys will make that decision. The city of South Haven does use one instance of a decibel measurement, and that's on the second page, down at the very last one, number 11. Noise sources associated with construction and normal operations with activities properly conducted within their M1 light industrial, M2 heavy industrial districts. They don't want that noise exceeding 70 decibels. So that's one. They use that one instance of a decibel reading, and that's all I've seen in their ordinances. And then when you get to their dealing with music, that is found on page 5, paragraph 14. The playing of any music by a live band or other instruments or devices utilizing sound amplification equipment in any manner so as to unreasonably disturb the peace and quiet of neighboring persons of ordinary sensibilities in the vicinity thereof. So they don't want their residents being, to a reasonable degree, they don't want their ordinary sensibilities to be infringed upon. And so if it disturbs someone that lives in the area, they want to find a balance between live music and the rest and the citizens of the city. Okay, and I think that's something that we can kind of use to go by. They're not restricting it outright. They're just using that language to describe how they want to govern the use of live music that's allowed in the city of South Haven. So it's not, it's not prohibited. I think it's all but prohibited almost in Olive Branch. Not so much in South Haven, but they certainly have their guidelines that they want to go by.
Got two questions for you.
Yes, sir.
One, just define for me unreasonable. It's almost like in court when they talk about, the term that they use in court all the time.
Sure.
So, define for us unreasonable, because unreasonable is discretionary.
It is.
And discretionary, so who's right and who's wrong when you're talking about discretionary?
Well,
I
Alderman Miller, I think that's something that this board is going to have to set a standard on. But as far as the in the use of the term unreasonableness in law,
I mean, yeah, that's
with law, whether it's reasonable or not.
I do better than that. Chief, you the police chief, you got to enforce this, so you tell me what unreasonable is.
Unreasonable? Did you say unreasonable?
Yeah,
That's open to interpretation.
that again, see, so that's my point. So why we want to do something, I'm gonna get to you, yeah. So, yeah, that's my, and so, you said that we shouldn't look at Oxford. I think we should look at Oxford.
Well, I didn't say that.
Because you talk about decimals. Decimals alleviate unreasonable. Because you got something, you got a gauge that as you speed, I'm gonna like going to the highway and say, well, I'll give you a ticket as you unreasonable going too fast. But the speed limit says 75, then as you going 76, then you speed.
Yeah. Alderman Miller, I want to say this. I didn't get a chance to answer your question. Reasonableness within the law is what the law is. So whatever you decide that you're going to make the law in the city of Hernando, that's reasonable or not reasonable. Okay, that's the first answer to that question.
That's what I'm saying.
A closing time is not discretionary. A cutoff time is not discretionary.
We're using this particular word here because 14 is what's driving a lot of this.
In South Havens.
No, I said what's driving this.
You said 14?
14, yes.
Yeah, music.
Yeah, 14 as far as yeah. And so I'm not saying don't use Oxford. I didn't make a copy of the ordinance, but I've got it right here if you want to make a copy. And it's all structured. It's definitely, there are definite levels of decibels. And that's another, that's certainly more work on the police department, but that's certainly.
I'm just.
Yeah, I'm not making an argument.
That's all I ask a question, because I think it's.
Yeah, I'm not making an argument either way. And I may have.
I think it's a decent question to be asked.
Yeah, so I'm not making an argument either way. I'd be happy to provide this to every board member from Oxford. So
What is
that to be
the,
said, I think the decibels certainly would work if you want that much government oversight on that level.
what's the date on the Oxford ordinance? Just because these are like 93, 94. Is that one more recent?
Yeah, let's see if it says it here.
I believe they did that for last year's.
It's my understanding that this was passed, I believe it's going to be I believe it's this year, because it's 2021, which is reflected on the statute number. But I can't tell you that with 100% certainty. Actually, I can. Adopted March 2nd of this year.
So they're probably reviewing it quite often, like South Haven says they look at it every third year.
Yeah, this was adopted and amended on March 2nd, 2021 in Oxford. Now, again, I don't think that Hernando has the same level of noise sources as a college town, okay? That's the only reason I say that. Certainly, I will make a copy of this. We can do it right now if anyone wants it. And we can certainly consider that. And that you're right, Alderman Miller. That would be if an officer has a decibel reader, and if he's at a certain business or in a certain precinct, a part of the city that's defined in the statute, in the ordinance, and they get a reading, they can write a ticket. And that would certainly be one way to do it.
Would setting time limits, from your opinion, be another way to do it that might be effective?
Well, it's more effective than it, I mean, I think that's, from what I've heard from some of the citizens, the time is an issue during the week. And probably, certainly on the weekends too, but I know I've had suggestions from a couple of you that are certainly in favor of time limits, okay? I mean, you could have a no time limit and a decibel limit and go all night, as long as it's under a certain decibel if you wanted to. All options are open to this. You're the lawmakers in this city, so that's certainly an option. Time restraints.
I'd like a copy of the Oxford ordinance, just to read it, and it's a more current document. So
Do you want to get a copy right now while we're in this meeting, or just at the end?
Okay. I mean, we're not going to make any decisions tonight anyway, right? We're just here to discuss tonight, right?
I will
Totally up to y'all.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm not ready
either-
to make a decision. I hadn't even read the documents yet, so.
I'll be happy to scan this and email it to each of you first thing in the
Thank you.
morning with no problem at all on that. And I think those are, so I think if you I didn't read the Oxfords until this afternoon, and my staff left it, they leave at 4, so I'm not an advocate for any of this. I mean, I'm just presenting it to the board as different options. I'm not here advocating. That's not my job. And so I will have this option to you in the morning. And in my view, really, it does give you 3 good examples to go by of kind of a less restrictive, a little bit more restrictive, and the most restriction of, of governing it with decibel, okay? Which, that's going to create, I'm not sure, you may talk to some of the aldermen, be happy to call. I know that one of our former aldermen has spoken with some of the folks from Oxford. Some of them aren't real happy with the way this decibel program is working, but that's not to say it wouldn't work for our city, okay? And that's just the information I've been passed along, so I'm just passing along to this board.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I think we have some citizens here that would like to speak. This might be a good
Sure.
time for that to happen. Thank you.
Austin Wilson, 3242 West Heartland Drive. I'm going to back up a little bit. My granddad and I, Dale Wilson, we developed the property. And just to kind of give a brief history, I'm going to try not to be too long-winded. It took us about a year and a half to get a permit. From going through the Planning Commission, through the Board of Aldermen, it was a really stringent process. A lot of questions we had to answer. We jumped through a lot of hoops to make the project happen. We're very proud of it. There was concessions that we made. We even cut down the number of homes that we had from 5 homes to 4 homes. There was just a lot of concern, rightfully so. This is a historic district in Hernando. We take a lot of pride in our work, and it showed that the Board of Aldermen and the Planning Commission showed a lot of pride in their city and their historic district as well. So from a 10,000 foot perspective, we don't feel, and I mean this as respectfully as possible, and I'm not here to be ugly or throw stones, I don't feel that our neighbor across the street has been held to the same standard. And I mean that in several different ways, from the trash to the beer cans and the more trash, more beer cans, cigarettes that I pick up all the time on our property. I know that's not why we're here tonight, but that just kind of tells you a story. And as far as from a music standpoint, I mean, it's a free-for-all. As loud as they want, as long as they want, after hours. employees have been extremely rude to the tenants and these wonderful families that live here. It's been an ongoing problem for over a year that we've been really patient with. These people have been extremely patient, trying to find solutions, and they're tired tonight. So I think they're going to have something to say to you. But I've attempted to work with the owner of the restaurant, my granddad as well. We've offered to build a sound barrier at our cost, 100% our cost, to no avail. They don't want to work with us. It's become a hostile relationship. No one really knows why. I'm just trying to get some relief for the tenants. They're all wonderful people. They're citizens too. I ask you tonight, respectfully, put yourself in their shoes. I mean, this is 4 days a week, 4 hours at a time. Tuesday nights, Sunday nights sometimes. I mean, get up and go to work tomorrow. And in my opinion, this isn't a time issue. In my opinion, it's a level issue. It's a rock concert. It's a 5-piece band. I mean, in the historic district. I mean, we went through meeting after meeting after meeting about, I mean, from architectural elements to what, our site layout, how things were going to look, how things were going to function, who's going to live here, who's this going to bring to Hernando. And then across the street, it's just, you do whatever you want. We can't do anything about that. We're all for protecting business. If we want Bubba's to succeed. It's better for Hernando if they do. We're advocates for them, but not at the expense of everybody not being able to sleep. They can't entertain. Miss Jenny, she can't babysit her 5-month-old granddaughter. I mean, what's too loud? What's too loud? That's too loud. So we beg tonight for some control from you guys, and I think they're going to have something to say as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Who would like to come up and speak? Yes, ma'am, please.
My name is Jenny Neal, and I live at 2365 Memphis Street. I live within 30 feet of Uncle Bubba's, and my life has been a living hell for the past year. I have been exposed to above 90 decibel readings. I have readings from a whole year to back it up. If you want to know what's unacceptable, this is my bedroom. 4 nights a week. This is my bedroom. Not only is it music, on Tuesday nights, which tonight is a Tuesday night, they have biker nights. So we're exposed to the loud noises of motorcycles. We're exposed to obscenities. My neighbor Amy has a recording of the band singing at midnight because I'm so effing drunk. I've got friends in low places because I'm so effing drunk. Now, I pay a premium rent price. And honestly, I moved here from Oxford. I moved from downtown Oxford. Nothing like this would have ever taken place in Oxford. Or they wouldn't have been able to charge the rents they charge in Oxford. And it is a college town. I pay Oxford level rent to live in downtown Hernando. And people refer to this as the entertainment district. So what's your entertainment? You have a funeral home on the left, 4 condominiums that are all elderly people behind it, a beauty shop and a nursery on the right. Where does the entertainment come in? And again, this is the historic district. Saturday night, I had a very bad, I'm beginning to have visceral effects from this music. I start on Thursday going into a depressive state because I can't sleep. I mean, this has been going on for a year. I can't sleep. As Austin said, I can't babysit my newborn. Not only can I not babysit my newborn, I cannot babysit my granddog. The night that my children went into labor to have their beautiful baby girl, they asked me as a mother if I would take care of their dog, Archie. So I asked permission from a landlord to be able, because it's a dog-free, they have a lot of conditions. These houses were built for not young people. They're expensive. We're expected to maintain them. They're pet-free, child-free. And so I asked permission to babysit the pet. I couldn't even, the dog went crazy. I had to pack up the dog on the night my grandchild was being born and take him to my in-laws' house so that they could babysit the dog. Now, I personally have been to speak to the owner of Uncle Bubba's, and I told him, I said, you know, this was a year ago. When we first moved in, we were in COVID lockdown, and there was no outdoor music. COVID forced them to play outdoors. When they realized they could play outdoors and play as loud as they wanted and attract whoever they wanted, they decided that was a winning thing for them, and they were not going back indoors because they could serve alcohol to more people outside. So I begged him. I said, please, just take your band inside. I said, you're ruining our lives. You are absolutely ruining our lives. And he said, well, I got to make a living. You know, I got rent to pay. I said, we pay rent too, and we don't get to make a profit on our rent. Our profit is just our quality of life. And our quality of life is hell. So he has retaliated. He has increased the decibels. I have been threatened by employees. Every time I walk outside my house, someone shoots me the bird. I have been told that I could expect retaliation. That came from the police department. So Dale and Austin had to install security cameras on my home because I was threatened with retaliation.
When you say that came from the police department, they were just relaying that they thought that would happen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I've been humiliated. I've been marginalized. I've been thrown out of court. It's just, I am to the point, and I believe that some of my other neighbors would be willing to engage in a civil suit if something is not done. So I thank you for listening to me. Again, I have documentation of plus 90 decibels 4 nights a week. It is untenable. I had to call 911 on Friday night because I thought I was having a stroke. On Saturday night, I was still so upset. My neighbor came and sat with me all day Sunday. It was rapid heart. I was having a major panic attack. I cannot live this way. On Saturday night, I packed up my car and I went to the Hampton Inn in Olive Branch because the Hampton Inn in Hernando was full. On Sunday afternoon, they still played. So I'm begging, as I'm sure this beautiful lady would beg as well. I mean, I am begging. I have begged the police. I begged at an alderman's meeting 6 months ago. And as they said in the Olive Branch, no noise should ever disturb another person's peace. Even if you pass a noise ordinance and you allow them to play at 60 decibels till 10 o'clock at night, it should not be to the point where it disturbs another person's peace. I cannot get away from this music. I mean, I have no choice but to sit there, and the only thing I can do to alleviate any of it is to put Bose noise-canceling headphones on and turn them up to 100. So I'm consistently bombarded by noise that has become torture. Music and loud noise like this is used as a form of torture in many things, and that's exactly what it's become to me. It's torture. Some nights I sit in my house and just cry. And honestly, I've been looking for a house. I've been looking for a place to go. There's nothing on the market. There's nowhere to go. There's, and I love my home. I love everything about it. I'm 60 years old. This was supposed to be my retirement home. I was very excited to be moving to Hernando But I can guarantee you I would not give Hernando a good recommendation to any newcomer who wanted to come here. And I've traveled all over the world. I work for a very affluent company in Memphis. So I just hope you will take all of this into consideration. The music should not be allowed to play outside. It is an arena band that is playing in an outside environment 4 nights a week. I mean, we're talking Mud Island loud. And no one seems to want to do anything about it.
Well, I think that's what we're here for.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for telling us.
My name's Gracie Donovan. I live at 2404 East Street. I can confirm everything she said, and I think possibly it has caused all of us, she and I both of us have PTSD. It is hell on wheels. I'm telling you, I have a grandson who plays heavy metal music in Las Vegas, and it sounds like we're having a heavy metal rock band in our front yard every night they're playing. And I've called them and I've talked to them and asked them, please turn it down. And they said, these people enjoy this music. I said, yes, but I can't hear my TV. Well, they don't care. They couldn't give them a big rat's foot whether I can hear my TV or not. Plus, I have pillows between my bedroom, the little shutters in my bedroom and my window to keep out some of the noise at nighttime. I go in there and I have to close off the door to my sunroom. It goes to my bedroom. Close off the door from the living room. It goes to my bedroom. Close off put pillows in my windows and turn the TV up and put earplugs in. And so I'm watching silent TV. I can't even hear the darn TV. It's crazy. You know what, I just want to say, Mayor Johnson, Hernando's better than this. I've been here 20 years, and Hernando is better than this. I know it is. When we chose to move down here, we love Hernando, but something's not right about this whole deal, because nobody should have to endure that stuff. And the more we complain, the louder they turn it. And I think actually you can see how nervous I am over it. And I'm serious. I can't even rest. She's right. It affects you mentally and physically. But I just want to say thank you, Chad. But I think Hernando is better than this. We can do better. I know that my husband worked for the Hernando Sheriff's Department from 91 to 2007 when he was diagnosed with lymphoma from Agent Orange. He gave a lot of his life, spent a lot of his time protecting this city. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed that that lady had to stand up here to say this about this city, just because of one person who refuses to care about someone else. That's the bottom line. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but I believe Hernando's better than this. Thank you.
Thank you. I know your families came and spoke on your behalf, and we're glad to see you here tonight.
Thank you.
And we're listening to you.
I just want to, I don't know if anyone has ever checked the CDC website and talks about what decimal and at 95 that you have damage to your hearing after just 50 minutes of exposure. And the facts are that sleep deprivation can cause death. And when I tell you she's sleep deprived, that's not an exaggeration. And these other people living in these homes. This is a health hazard. I think I alluded to that the last time I talked. But at this point, I said you need to have your hearing checked because her hearing has gotten worse. It's nonstop. You heard the video. And hers is just that loud. And she lives a street over on East. So that's some loud music. How far are you behind?
30 feet.
She's 30 feet, and my mom's on East in West Valley. I don't know, I'm proud of her for being here tonight. She doesn't feel like it, like I've told y'all. She doesn't get out, but she's here, not just for herself, but she's more concerned about that lady that lives 30 feet behind.
And just so the boards, I think most everybody does know, but where she lives is right behind Junior's, so it's across the highway. Would someone else like to speak?
I'm Russ Barnes. I live at 2355 Memphis Street. I'm the second one in. I get up every day at 4:30 in the morning, 4 nights a week. I don't go to bed till 1. They're playing till 1 o'clock. Sometimes out, maybe it's just the employees sitting in the parking lot with their radios on, cursing and screaming and singing to their music. But what's reasonable? It was stated. He told you in the reading. What's reasonable is not to affect the well-being of an individual or citizen of the community. I've lived here 16 years. Now, maybe at first I lived in the county, but we moved downtown because we wanted to enjoy. I'm 64. We wanted to enjoy downtown Hernando. I'm looking for land in Coldwater. Okay, I don't want to leave. I love Hernando. I owned a restaurant here. Probably been thinking about putting a car lot down here. A guy that emptied out. I'm a big advocate of this town. Always have been. But my wife, am I hearing? I got a ringing in my ear now. It's constant. I can sleep through a hurricane, I will tell you that. And I can't sleep through some nights. And they have, what bothers me the most, and I want a noise ordinance. This could pop up. Someone could buy someplace and start playing music. Y'all can't stop this. If I want to pull in front of your house and put 2 speakers in my truck and play it as loud as I want all night, you couldn't stop it. You could complain, and I could postpone your court date and everything. Get my lawyer, and we just put it off because we've had 2 court days. Been put off, never had a chance to be heard. So he thinks he's bulletproof. And I've gone there several times. I said, guys, just turn it down. I got a friend that does all the sound equipment for Memphis in May. They have volume controls. Just turn it down, take it back inside. It was inside when I rented the place. I spent 2 nights over there standing outside listening to it, make sure it wouldn't bother blowing. And it didn't. But when it went outside, and he's become retaliatory. It's gone up and up and up. And it stayed longer and longer and longer. So, it is affecting the health of my wife, myself, my neighbor, other people. I don't think y'all need to do that. This is a small town, very small, well-knit community. That's why I live here. My grandchildren have lived here their whole lives. My daughter lives here. My whole family is in this town. And I don't want to leave, but I can live wherever I want. And I choose Hernando for a reason. I chose it when I bought the property I originally lived in for a reason, because I like the town. I opened my restaurant here for a reason, because it filled a void, and I did well. I loved it. Won Best of DeSoto 4 years running. Okay? Good friend with Tom Pittman, the Community Foundation. He got me down here. This is a great town, but it's not acting like it right now because of one individual. So, I have no problem with renting me a space and having a band at anywhere I need, because you can't do anything about it. You just have to have some way to control noise in this town. That's all we're asking. I'm not picking on him. He can go inside. The people next door to him are leaving. They're going to where SoCo was. He can rent that from the dentist and put his band in there. It'll be empty in a couple of weeks. They're leaving because of him. So, got new people coming in to where the DeSoto Times used to be. They're going to hate it. They're building new condos right down the street. Guarantee they're going to hate it. If you want to develop downtown Hernando, which you do, I'm assuming, you want to make it a community that we enjoy living in. We just have to have a noise ordinance for every kind of noise. I'm not picking, like I said, I'm not picking on him. I don't care what. I hope he makes a ton of money playing music. Take it indoors. We didn't hear it. I'm in the car business. Anybody here been to a car auction? You think it's loud? And there's 6 lanes running? You can walk between lanes and not hear the other lane. Soundboard. It's easy. You can do it. Okay? So I mean, I go to, well, I don't anymore because COVID won't let us go, but I used to go to 10 auctions a month. So it's doable. He can go inside. Okay, and again, I hate to keep bringing him up, but he's the only one doing this. I don't think you walk anywhere, in any other place in this town, I've been a lot of them, that you're not above ambient. Ambient in this town, and ambient in our neighborhood is 30 decibels. And it gets 90 in our bedroom. And we're 2 over. We can't go to bed till he's through. And that's up to him. We don't ever know when it's going to be. He's increased his closing time to midnight. It was 10. You know, he's just doing everything he can to keep it going. And again, I appreciate it. But we look over there and there's nobody there and the band's still playing. It's even louder then. So we asked them why they didn't move it inside one time. You know what they told me? It's too loud to be indoors. So, I mean, duh. Okay, we agree with you. So it's in our door. So just look at the options. I worked in Oxford for 5 years also. I know there's no outdoor music like this. I sponsored the double-decker bus thing with the car dealership I was at. They have things for parades and stuff. I mean, everything's permittable. You can get a permit to do anything if you write the rules right. A great police force, know most of them. They'll enforce it, and they know what's legal and what's not. I'm not worried about that. But the time is important when they have to shut down, especially during the week. I think that's most important because you're going to start maybe having some more families move into some of these older homes as they become available. I just sold my other home in Hernando. A couple from out of the town moving down here just love this place, and literally sold it today. And we talked well about Hernando, but if he had to deal with what I'm dealing with over there where my house is, he wouldn't be moving here, and I wouldn't advise it. If someone came to look at one of these, I'll tell them, no, it's just too loud. So read them over. I'd like copies of it myself if I could get them. I'd like to sit, when you write it, I'd like to see it, but it's got to be punitive to him because he's the type of person that's going to try to break it. He's shown that to me, and so. But that's all I have to say, but that's what's reasonable, what doesn't affect the well-being of your citizens. And that's what this is all about, and that's what this town is all about.
For clarification, the reason I asked about the word reasonable, we want to do something that's going to be enforceable, that it won't be with a cloud over it. And if you use the word reasonable, you got a court fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because it's open to too much interpretation.
That's correct.
And I'm agreeing with you, but why use a word when we know on the front end there's going to be problem, and any lawyer, even our attorney would tell you that if he be on the other side, he'll argue the word unreasonable.
Right.
So whatever we're doing, I think the board as a whole, we want to do something that's going to have some teeth to it that won't be unreasonable.
Yeah, and I tried to get somebody from the funeral.
You know what I'm saying? So
I understand,
my point.
It's bothering them.
Yeah, we've heard from them as well.
They have said they've had families that couldn't even grieve their family member that was in there. And both of my in-laws were interned there, or cremated there. So I knew that family. I sold them a bunch of cars when I was in South Haven. So, but it's too good of a town to be this happening. I mean, it really is. I know I keep saying that. I want to stay here. I like this place. Love it, actually. I plan to open another business one day here. I can open it anywhere. So think it over, look it over. It does need time. It's really relative to me anyway. I mean, because I get up at 4 every day, and I'd like to be in bed by 10 or 11, and I can't be right now. Because I can't go straight to bed just from sitting around. I mean, it takes me a minute. So, but and decibels is important. Yeah, and distance from residents, I think, is another thing you need to consider. Distance from homes and families and stuff needs to be considered. It's especially if you're going to continue outdoor music. But the one way to get rid of most of it is making music indoors. Back when I was in Oxford, they couldn't play outdoors, not on the square. Could you imagine every restaurant down there playing outdoors? How many of you been on the square? A bunch of them. Now, if every one of them restaurants that have music played outdoors, how chaotic would it be? It would be pretty bad. So they don't allow it outdoors unless except for permitted functions, the double-decker bus and some other things. But we need to we need to look at that aspect of it too. I think outdoors has been the crutch of it. I think if he'd stayed indoors, we wouldn't be here right now. We probably should be anyway, because we do. I think we need a noise ordinance. I understand we had one at one point, if I'm not mistaken, years ago, and it was revoked or done away with because you didn't feel we needed it, because we had nothing like that. What was that bar that was over there next to Goodwill forever? Anybody remember it?
Loves, yep.
Yeah, y'all shut that down pretty quick, didn't you? If I remember correctly. So, I haven't lived here as long as a lot of people, but I think my 16 years here has earned me a little respect that I'm not trying to hurt whatever that guy's name is. I know he owns a couple of restaurants here. I know restaurant business is one of the hardest. I think I picked the other second hardest, but he's not been cooperative. And I've been over there several times, just ask him. And he leaves. He every time we filed a complaint, you know who was arrested? His manager, his teenage manager, because he doesn't have the guts to be there. And he's let him go. He's gone to jail. So we've stopped filing noise, complaints, disturbing the peace complaints, because we're waiting on y'all. We're going to get back to that if we have to. And I'll sit in that courtroom till you hear me. So we need to get something done. This does not need to take a long time. It's very simple. I think you've got 3 good examples. I've never seen Oxford. I've seen South Haven and Olive Branch. I think both those towns, I've known most of the mayors of those, South Haven, because that's where I had a business for a long time. We got in trouble at a car dealership having a speaker out on our front porch announcing, trying to drive people off the street. I bet too big a hands on a mic, and I was walking around trying to sell cars. Yeah, Mark Little paid me a call. So, they've been doing it for years, and I was shocked when we didn't have one. But we really need to address that, and this does not need to take a long time. I'm gonna beg you, I guess, you need to really put a boot in everybody and just let's get this going, get a good draft written. I trust y'all to do the right thing. That's why we elected you. A lot of you we got a lot changed this year. I think that was a good thing. I know a lot of you from Facebook more than I do in person, but now you know my face. I'm not trying to cause trouble for anybody. I just want a peaceful life. That's why I live here. I'm going to retire here if I can, I promise you. So, okay? Thank y'all for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Did anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir.
I apologize, I'm not dressed for the occasion, but Preston McAlexander, 564 West Commerce, and I own the building that is under discussion right now. I want to clarify, I do not have anything to do with the business that is in the building. I simply own the real estate. I would probably agree that the music is too loud at times. I certainly hate to hear stories like you guys have just told. That hurts me. I've been in Hernando since 2004, and I live downtown, and I love this town. I think I just wanted to clarify just a few things. One, when I bought that property, I don't remember, and I was, again, not prepared to speak. I think in 2014 or 15, it had been on the market for I don't know how long. It had been looked over. It was a brownfield site, which means that it had environmental contamination, oil, gas, diesel range, organics in the soil from its history as a tractor dealership. Nobody wanted it. It was, if you remember it, it was muddy and it was a mess, and dirt was always running into the street behind it. There was equipment parked all in the street. In the building that in the lot that Mr. Wilson owns was, basically just a junkyard. It really was an eyesore. I bought it knowing that there was a lot of contamination that needed to be cleaned up, and spent a lot of money doing that to bring it up to a condition that could be reused and repurposed and put, a business in there that would contribute to the tax base. When I bought the building, when I redid the building, I did not know who the tenant would be. But just kind of spec'd it and did the outside and then found a tenant and we finished out the inside. I will admit that there is more trash behind there than I would like to see. I pick up trash there sometimes as well. Again, it is my real estate, but not my business. And so I think there are things that could be done better. Now, that building, that business was put in before the residences were built. Mr. Wilson and I had conversations about it. And so the people that moved there did know they were moving behind a restaurant. I certainly will admit that I also did not know that the music would be that loud. I do not condone any kind of intimidation or whatever is happening between the employees or owner of the business. I think that's totally unfair. But I do need you guys to just be mindful, and I'm not opposed to a noise ordinance in some capacity. I do need you to be mindful that, you are sort of setting a precedent here. It can be a slippery slope of things when you go down that path. I take that back. I think he needs music in some capacity to stay in business. It is a big part of his business. So I do think that the majority of us in this town like the downtown area because of what it provides as far as opportunities for entertainment, for eating out, listening to music, having a drink, all those things that people want in a downtown area. I think that is important. So I hope that you'll consider that. I think the inside, outside has to be, again, well-defined. That building has a garage door that can be open, so if you're inside the walls, are you inside if the garage door is open? Same thing at Mr. Wilson's building. If you're in that venue, if your music is inside but the double doors are open, is that inside or is that outside? I think there are just a lot of things that you have to consider before you do something that, again, and everything, I guess you can go back and change it. But I think there are a lot of considerations that need to be taken into account. Everybody says they're pro-business, and I think that, again, it is the historic district. It is, some people call it the entertainment district. Yeah, it's the only thing there right now, but, there are hopes that other things will come in that, 51 corridor right there. I do think part of living downtown is you want to be close to these amenities, and so to just say that we want to completely wipe it out, I think is unfair. I do think it certainly would be detrimental to the business, the gentleman that rents my property. It's going to affect the building, the business that I think they're anticipating to go into the old DeSoto Times building. There's a vacant building across the street. So there is opportunity for things, and I think the majority of people are interested in seeing things like that develop in that area. Again, I am not opposed to a noise ordinance. I do think something needs to be done and can be done that would be satisfactory to everybody. I just wanted to make the point that there's more to consider than just, do we do it or do we not? There's things that you have to take into account. Another thing to clarify, just when Mr. Wilson approached me or called me back months ago about a sound barrier that you've heard, it was presented to me as would I want to, split the cost of that or split the cost of a consultant to kind of do a study to see what could be done. And I politely told him that I'm not opposed to that. I'm not going to pay for it. So I never was against having that conversation. it's been presented to you guys that they approached the business owner or building owner as they wanted to build a sound barrier, and I was not receptive to it, and that is not true. Just wanted to clarify that. I think that is it. But again, I live close to here, and you know, I can hear the music. It doesn't affect me. I know that if you live where you guys live, it would, you know, that is too much. And so I hate that the business owner is not here to speak, because I think he has more skin in the game than anybody. I can get another tenant to come in there if his business is not successful. But I do think we need to take all of this into consideration when and if you do decide to put some sort of noise ordinance in place. Thanks.
Thank you. So I think we've heard a lot tonight.
Mayor Johnson, may I say something?
Certainly. Yes, ma'am.
When they said something about the funeral home, I had thought about that also. It's, I'm thinking about people who pass away and their families. They have visitation during the week. Somebody said, well, you know, they don't have, you know, whatever, it wouldn't affect them. But people who have passed away and use that funeral home during the week, I cannot imagine it. To me, it's beyond disrespectful. And the fact that he had the music inside before nobody was complaining, why can't he move it back inside now? I mean, when you talk about people losing loved ones and then having to go over there and go to visitation and endure that at the same time, I cannot imagine. That it seems very, very disrespectful to me. And I just wanted to say that because I can't imagine losing a loved one and then having to go over there and endure that. It would be like, I can't tell you because I've endured it so long, but I feel for the people who are having funerals and having visitation over there. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Ms. Donovan. Yes, sir.
Rhodes Thompson, 2633, Rising Sun, Hernando. Mayor, I just listened to a few points that Austin made, and just can't, I'm not even here on this issue or anything, but just to bring you a few points, or a point that I thought about when I was sitting out here listening to everybody. Austin was talking about the permitting and stuff like that he had to go through in the permitting process and everything, and I'm a commercial realtor in this town, sell this town every day of the week, including all of DeSoto County. What I'd like for you to do is through the permitting process, I think it's on the books, and I was asking Kristen a while ago, I think it's on the books that you have to have a lighting plan. And we've got lighting plans that are put in place for ambient light and controlling lighting, but we're not even controlling the noise. I mean, I have to agree with the citizens here, and that, you know, I know y'all are gonna do what's right here, and it's gonna be pro-business too, to Preston's point, but it's controlled, and that y'all can honor something, or have something, to Alderman Miller's point, to back it up. But I say, I'm a member of Longview Point, and back in the day, we put up security lights on security lights to protect the members of the church there at Longview Point. We installed them. I was on the church leadership team at the time. We installed them and had to pull them back down. Had to pull those lights back down to protect, because the light was going into other, I don't know who complained, whatever the case was, but we had to pull those lights back down because it was going in neighbors' yards or whatever. We're controlling lights, but we're not controlling the sound. I think, you know, what's good for one and what's good for the other just needs to be rationalized here, and I know y'all do what's best. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhodes. Go ahead.
Can we adopt something temporarily until we get the ordinance done? Maybe 9 o'clock during the week and 11 on weekends for 30, 60 days?
When you adopt an ordinance, it has to be published for 30 days, am I correct? I'm a little rough.
I believe so. I can't say for certain, Mayor, I'm sorry.
It has to be published, but it does not go into effect for 30 days.
I'm just thinking something temporarily.
But tonight, because of the way our agenda is structured, it talks about discussion. You can put nothing in place, even temporary or permanent, when you're dealing with discussion. If you're gonna do an ordinance or anything, even temporary, it needs to be announced, giving citizens opportunity for input and everything. I mean, legally, and anything you do, you want to be done legally, because there again, you got to call a lawyer.
So what I would like to see happen tonight is to give some generalizations to our attorney. Maybe like Alderman Miller said, let's not use something that just says reasonableness, because that's not going to work. Let's give some general ideas of what y'all are looking for to the attorney. The next time we come back to discuss it, it won't say discussion, it will say consideration of adopting the ordinance, and he'll have one prepared for us.
I will say that all the input has been very helpful to my understanding of what's going on with this establishment. I mean, I live close by too. I have a little bit of, they're on the other side, it's kind of going out that way, the sound does, it doesn't travel quite as much towards me. So, having said that, having heard from other people, I've got a better understanding of what might be helpful to this board.
So is this board looking for something like a hybrid between closing times or noise times, I should say, live music times and decibel levels?
I would think so, yeah. We need to have some time limits in place that's enforceable. And we need to look at the noise to satisfy the concerns that we've heard tonight. We've got, to me, I can't speak for everybody here, but we need to address both of those. And they're two separate issues. And we have other establishments that play music in town.
Yes,
I don't know what their hours are.
Time would be really good. Again, I don't have to say I am again.
This is Mr. Barnes again.
Time would be really good.
It's something not new.
I was, one night when all the employees were out in the parking lot singing and dancing and going back in, and they were actually drinking after hours, they were closed. We can get the liquor control board going too, but I don't want to hurt this guy, okay? I went out to see what the heck was going on, because it was way past when it was supposed to be going. Stopped a police officer in the street, drove by him, said, "Can't you do anything about that?" You know, he said, "No." I mean, they were singing with 6 cars with their radios on, singing with rap. I mean, it was loud. I don't care what music, I like all music, but I mean, it was loud. I've threatened to just get a speaker and put it behind my building and just play it toward Uncle Bubba's.
This is something the decibel level would address, though.
Yeah,
That would
time
give the
would
officers
address,
some-
because that was 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I had to get up and go, just what is going on? It was horrendous. They were having a good time, I give them that, but maybe you can pay for it by sticking a police officer out there and get some DUIs going, so.
Move on.
Yeah, but
We're not getting
anyway,
anywhere.
yeah, that's the thing, that's where time would help. I mean, that would not happen if that was.
I think we all are in agreement that we need to have an ordinance in place to address it. My confusion
I think so,
is that I've got 3 documents here on 3 different cities. They all say different things. I know it was sent out to us today, but quite honestly, I didn't have a chance to read any of them. We've got the Oxford ordinance tonight that no one has seen. So personally, before I can make any kind of suggestion to our attorney to draft a document, I need to digest what's been given to us tonight so that I have some ideas in place to present to our attorney that would be a good fit for us. Now,
I would just like to say, if you're looking at the decibel readings, I do believe that you have an alderman on board that has a wife who's an audiologist.
We do.
I would like for you to all understand decibel levels, that if ambient is 30 and 90 is what we're having, that's like unacceptable. I mean, that's just like.
And quite a few of us have read the data on that, and we do understand that for certain.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
harmful. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
losing my hearing. I mean, you've got to understand all that if we're gonna do the decibels.
That's right.
I personally would rather see you do an indoor-outdoor thing.
Okay. Alderman Piper, were you about to speak?
Yeah, I'm definitely not in favor of just completely prohibiting live music. I know it looks like that's what Olive Branch has, so I don't think that's necessarily the route to go. I mean, I think we can all at least get on that page and look at times and then maximum levels as well. I think that if there's something else in one of these ordinances where it's Sunday through Thursday is one time, Friday and Saturday is a different time. I think that's preferential as well, because you're talking about business days compared to the weekend. So I think that's.
My mental health doesn't know whether it's the week or the weekend. If you have
Yes,
4
ma'am.
hours of 90 decibel music, it doesn't matter what day of the weekend.
And I think Alderman Piper is saying we're going to address the decibel issue as well.
Yeah, so whatever that maximum threshold is, like we have that, but also a shut off time, if that makes sense. So whatever that shut off time is.
That is illegal.
Correct. And so and full disclosure, I think that anytime you have an ordinance, and if it's if there's fines that get levied or whatever else, you can have a business that just says, well, you know what, this is just the cost of doing business, and they just keep on rolling, right? So take that, us discussing this, we certainly want to, we've certainly tried to make it a priority. We've been in office for 2 months, so we're trying to make it a priority. I apologize that we don't have more for you this evening, because this is something y'all have to live with on a daily basis. So
We've got other control boards that are over him that if he continues to break city laws, they'll act on him. I mean, liquor
Right.
control, he's a bar.
Understand
He
why
advertised as it's a restaurant, was what he was,
Right.
he went in at. I'd like to know what his business license is, but it's a bar.
Well, we're gonna stick to the noise ordinance thing for now.
Mayor,
Alderman Wicker?
I'd like to go ahead and authorize our city attorney to take kind of what we've had, and maybe at our next board meeting have something to present to us to look at.
Based on
draft
times
ordinance.
and limits.
Something that we could approve.
All right, so there's a motion on the table from Alderman Wicker.
But that's on, when the discussion.
Yeah, we'll have some discussion.
Yeah.
The motion is for us to have our attorney, based on things he's heard tonight, draft an ordinance, which will be a draft ordinance, to come back to us at the next meeting. Alderman Miller?
The city of Hernando consists of more than the downtown area. Any ordinance got to entail more than the downtown area. Everything that's been discussed tonight has been specifically targeted towards the downtown area. What we discussed, and I hadn't had a chance to read everything, and none of them, I'm sure anybody else had. So what do it address noise in neighborhood other than the music in downtown area? Ain't been no input to the attorney on how to address those issues. Everything was strictly deal.
I think those.
Oxford breaks it down.
Done that,
It
so,
breaks it down.
I didn't want to dismiss that, we do have it before.
Let me finish. What
Go
I
ahead,
said,
Alderman Miller.
what I said, we hadn't discussed it, and we hadn't discussed it because we hadn't read it. So I had not been able to give you no input on how to draft the ordinance. That's my point.
I certainly don't intend to draft anything, I would love to hear back from each and every one of you guys.
But that's the motion on the floor now for you to have an ordinance drafted and back at the next meeting.
Very well.
So, I'm wondering where the input gonna come. And we also must have the input, throughout the city. And in order to have input throughout the city, it needs to be announced that this is what we're doing. In my opinion. I could be wrong.
Alderman Miller, I certainly understand what you're saying, I respect.
No, I respect what you're doing. I just want to.
But to be fair, this problem has been going on for, I think, 18 months. It needs to be addressed. We can't delay and delay and delay.
I just said delay. I was just
Well,
saying that.
Mr. Miller, you said your piece, let me
Okay.
say my piece, okay? This thing needs to be addressed. It is an issue in our town that needs to be addressed, and it's been going on for, I know, over a year. Let's get it going. That's my opinion. No disrespect at all.
Oh, no disrespect you, agree, we all agree that the direction that we're going, I just wanna make sure that we be included everything. That's my point. Don't just look at one side, look at the whole thing, that's all. I'm agreeing that need to be addressed, but I'm saying, let's make sure that we address all of it.
Oxford breaks it down into residential and commercial
I'm
and,
looking forward to input from any of the aldermen and any of the citizens who want to give me more input. I really appreciate hearing from you tonight, and I will prepare a sample ordinance or an alternate as well. To be presented next time.
Mr. Barnes, if you have something brief.
I could have had, I asked 100 people that have told me they hear the music from far away by the tennis courts over there on Commerce and to come. You know what their comment was? Nothing I have. That's exactly what everyone told me. Some old-time residents are old, they just said, nothing's gonna happen, you're wasting your time. That's what they think, and that's a sad state.
Well, I think this board's about to prove them wrong.
Something's gonna happen.
something's gonna happen.
I mean, I'm just telling you, I really went out, and we have a lot of friends, both of my grandsons play soccer here, and so we got the whole soccer family. And a lot of them live down here, they are going to Hernando Island. And so many of them can't hear, they live quite a ways away. And they just said, you're wasting your, they said, Russ, you're wasting your, and I'll waste I told you, I'll sit here every day until it's done. So, you know my name now, I won't announce it ever again.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. All right, there is still a motion on the table from Alderman Wicker. Is there a second to Alderman Wicker's motion? Alderman Robinson seconded it. We'll have a roll call vote.
Could you repeat the motion?
Chad, would you like to?
So essentially, I want to authorize Attorney Pittman to, based on what we've heard today, what's in the motion, what's in these three ordinances, something for us to look at the September 21st meeting, so we can move forward with the noise ordinance for the city of Hernando.
Is everybody clear on the motion and the second?
And you're good with it?
I am.
Okay.
Alderwoman Ross,
yes.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
And the motion passes. So all of you may want to come back at the next board meeting. And y'all are welcome to sit through the meeting because we are going to be discussing budget, which is even more exciting. But y'all,
Leave while
you don't
you
have
can.
to stay if you need to leave. There's no disrespect if y'all do.
Leave while you can. Thank y'all.
Joe, do you want to be coming up and getting ready for the next item on the maintenance bond?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wonder if anybody got read these.
No.
Oh, no, probably not.
All right, we are moving on to item 13. Oh, I'm sorry. No, 12 was the noise ordinance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The approval to release the $40,000 maintenance bond for Forest Meadows Phase 5 with Joe Lauderdale's completion recommendation.
The developers, they asked me 3 or 4 months ago to have their maintenance bond released. They had finished, and I went out there and checked them. They had 5 or 6 things they hadn't done or needed to do that to correct, and they have made those corrections and have asked for their maintenance bond to be released. That's that final section of Forest Meadows.
And you think it's all
They have
ready to
completed what
release?
they said they would do. Now, there's still construction going on houses that, yards need to be fixed, but
But that wasn't part of the maintenance
that's not
bond.
part of the developer's agreement.
Are the sidewalks all installed?
Yes, on the lots that are finished.
Should we be holding it back on the lots that are not finished?
Well, we just normally don't close out
Just
a
wouldn't give them a
house.
certificate of
Just
occupancy?
don't final the house out until they finish the sidewalks.
All right. Anybody have any questions or discussion on that item? If not, is there a motion to release the Forest Meadows Phase 5 bond?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Joe, would you like to do item 14 as well?
Okay. So you authorized the work up there on Motor Scooter Drive and Old 51 Highway. We're bidding that out right now as far as the asphalt, and Alderman Miller asked to see what the a concrete pavement would cost, and we're bidding that out also as an alternate. And so we need to do some drainage work, and the first one there has to do with Old Highway 51. Drainage work we need to do. Cleveland Construction gave me the lowest quote.
And you are recommending that to us as the lowest and best quote?
I am.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Was there any discussion needed on that item? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that item passes. And next is the one for motor scooter.
Same situation, just has to do with the work needs to be done on Motor Scooter Drive, on the drainage.
Will they do both these at the same time?
I hope so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Somebody make a motion to approve the lowest and best quote from Cleveland Construction on that one?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no, and that motion passes.
Okay.
And next, we have a bill that just did not make it to the docket of claims. It was the repairs to the restrooms at Conger Park. We need to authorize to pay Don Adcox $1,450 for those repairs.
That's vandalism, correct?
That was the vandalism. We did go back with stronger stuff. It had drywall in it, and we now have a wood product in there in place of the drywall.
So moved.
Alderman Miller made the motion. Second from Alderman Robinson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no, and that motion passes. House of Grace. Who's here to represent House of Grace? Hello. Sorry to keep you so long.
That's okay. That's okay. They're waiting for me at Search and Rescue. They were having a meeting tonight. So it's all
Mr. Bingham
good.
told me you'd be here tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. My name is Sarita Drake, and I'm the Executive Director at the House of Grace. Miss Lorene Cady was the Executive Director for 23 years. She retired May 28th. I started June 1st. So I'm still in my learning curve, but it's going well. I believe that God's hand was with me when Miss Cady asked me to be the director. I actually have known Miss Cady for about 6 years. She started, like I said, 23 years ago. God told her to start a domestic violence shelter. And she said, but God, there's no one around here that needs a domestic violence shelter. I don't know anybody that's in domestic violence. And as it turns out, we have been really overwhelmed with the need for it in DeSoto County. And we have the shelter. It is, I'll tell you a little bit about the shelter, how it goes. I've got some cards and some pamphlets to let you have. My cell phone number is on the card, and I am available literally 24 hours a day. So it is a house, it's a hidden shelter, but if any of you ever want to come take a tour, I will be more than happy to let you have a tour of the shelter. The house that we have is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house. It was probably built in the 50s, so we are constantly trying to update it. We're very proud. We just got new kitchen floors, new kitchen cabinets, and new counters. The ladies that come are from every walk of life. You may think, how do they get there? Well, sometimes it's the sheriff's department, police department. They'll call and say, and they've got my number. They said, well, now we're updating this. You got your number? I said, you got it. So they'll say, well, we're in a domestic violence situation. We have a lady that needs to come, and do you have room? And we always make room. So that's how we get some. I'll ask the ladies when they call, and they'll say, well, you know, I was at the hospital and they were there for their injuries, and they'll say, call the House of Grace. Sometimes they'll get on the computer and just look for shelters. They'll call the House of Grace. When they call, we have the shelter, and it's got 24-hour coverage, so we have aides there. So they'll go through a crisis sheet. They ask them probably 30 to 35 questions. We kind of need to determine, some of the ladies that call They only need a place to stay for a couple of nights. We'll put them in a hotel. They'll say, I just need to get my things in order. Some people come and they come in their pajamas. We have a lady right now, she's got 3 little boys. She's got a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. We're trying to unite her and her children because her sister has her kids. She had to come before them, and she's already gotten a job. She's worked 4 days, and she said, I want to get my kids now. So we're trying to figure out how are we going to get her kids from her sister to us. And that was our discussion today. We thought about the bus, and we said, well, we can't put a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and 5-year-old on a bus because Mama could sit with the 2-year-old, but the 2 others. So we're like, okay, maybe we'll rent a car. Well, will she bring the car back? We hope so. I'm like, no. So we're trying to, so it's those situations that we deal with every day. I want to tell you a little bit about what we offer. We offer job assistance. We have some people that'll say, if you have a lady that's a client, call us. We'll try and help her get a job. We offer child care. It's a bit tricky. We have a fund. One of the girls just started her job, and it's $200 a week for child care. So we're like, we have enough for 2 weeks. So, and then they closed the child care down because of COVID. It's reopened. We try and offer transportation, travel to other shelters. We put a lady on a bus to go from our shelter to Texas because that's where she's safe. We offer a Bible study once a week on Monday nights. Trinity Healthcare works with us when the ladies, and a lot of them have put their health care off because in the situation they're in, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it is so overwhelming that a lot of times they don't take care of their health. We have mental health care for a lot of the ladies. There's a lot of anxiety. We have toiletries we give them when they come. We let them pick a blanket. We give them pillows, things like that. We just had someone bring us 8 new mattresses, and they're the real thick plush kind, and we thought we were in high cotton. We still think we are. We have a safe shelter. I can't tell you how much I applaud the police and the sheriffs that they support us. We had an incident the other night at 2:30 in the morning. My aide called and said, the alarms are going off, but there's no windows open, doors aren't open, but it says the phone lines are out. And I'm thinking, CSI. I said, okay, call dispatch, tell them to come with their flashlights, look around the outside of the shelter and see if anything's wrong. They came, they didn't see anything, so they told our aide it was good, and then it hit me, we don't have cameras outside. So the next day I said, we gotta get cameras. How are we gonna do that? So, but God has provided for us, and He's used you, and I want to say thank you for having me come and talk and tell you a little bit about what we do. We also have a thrift store, which is wonderful because the ladies will say, I remember one lady, she said, can I get some pajamas? And I was like, oh, of course you can get pajamas. So we take her to the store and they just get what they need. There's no charge for any of the services. We provide 3 meals a day. It's like a house. And we're trying to let the ladies know that they're safe. And there's something, and I found this in the papers because Miss Katie said, okay, here's my office, throw away what you don't want. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But it was wonderful because you find gems in the stuff. So I found a sheet, and it kind of is it's what we want to do for the ladies. We want to offer them a safe place where they can kind of regroup and make another plan. Because nobody wants to live when you're scared and in terror, going to sleep every night and thinking, is it going to happen tonight? I can't talk too much about it because I lived it for 31 years. So I'm not going to, but the House of Grace helped me and my 2 daughters. And we live next to one of your rental house in Buena Vista. You met my daughter, Krista. I don't know if you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I met Miss Katie 6 years ago because we lived at the shelter for about 5 months. So I know how it feels. I also know what they need. They need time and they need resources. So I'm really, really big on resources. I've been a nurse for 37 years. And I'm a part of the search and rescue with DeSoto County. And Bigham said, okay, what time's your meeting? What time are you going to be here? I said, I'll be there when I get there. But I want to just tell you kind of our philosophy for the ladies, and then I'll be done. We tell the ladies we're here to listen, not to work miracles. We're here to help women discover what they are feeling, not to make their feelings go away. We're here to help a woman identify her options, not to decide for her what she should do. We're here to discuss steps with a woman, not to take the steps for her. We're here to help a woman discover her own strengths, not to rescue her and leave her still vulnerable. We are here to help a woman discover she can help herself, not to take responsibility for her. We are here to help women learn to choose, not to make it unnecessary for her to make difficult choices. We are here to provide support for change. So I just want to thank you for having me come and speak to y'all for just a few minutes. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Anybody have any questions? Well, thank you for stepping in and taking over where Miss Katie left off.
Well, I told God, I said, Lord, if you don't go with me, I cannot do this, and he's with me. So I want to thank y'all for what y'all do for us.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Yes, sir. I'm going to hand these out if it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would the library group like to start coming forward?
Good evening, everyone. It's very, very nice to be with you tonight. I am Lori Barnes. I'm the fairly new director of the First Regional Library System. Started July 1st. I came to Hernando from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, where I was library director there for many years. So happy to be here. We're going to be brief, though, because I know you all are tired. I have with me also Nancy Anderson, who is the business manager for First Regional, as well as Jesse Poole, who will be talking to you very, very briefly in just a few minutes. Just want to tell you what I brought with me tonight. I brought each one of you a brochure, a little family about our library system. I have some statistics here that you can review at your leisure so that you can kind of know what we've been doing the last year. And I also wanted to point out to you this star. This star means that First Regional Library System was selected as a star library system in the state of Mississippi. That designation came to us because of the high usage that we have in First Regional by your constituents and constituents all over our 5-county service area. So I want to thank you. We would not have won that were it not for your continued financial support. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jesse, and then I'll close with our financial request.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jesse Poole. I'm the head librarian, as Ms. Barnes said. Dropped that. I brought everybody a welcome packet and a library card sign-up form. I believe most of you already have a library card, so if you do, please pass that on to somebody who doesn't. September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month. And we have a oversized card I'd be happy to take anybody's picture with if y'all want to come by and see me at work. Our Friends of the Library group, which is kind of like a band boosters for libraries, they are doing a $50 Visa gift card as a prize for whoever we select at the end of the month. It's a random drawing. But if you get a new library card, you update the information on your old library card, or you just come in and replace a missing library card, you're eligible to win. And I would love for one of you guys to put your name in that entry sometime. Right. And I'm sure if you guys want to come by and get your picture made, that our brand and marketing strategist would love to put that on our Facebook page. Sure. And I believe in the past he's been able to make read posters. I'd love to have some read posters up of the mayor, the alderman, anybody from the city that would like to come do that. And I'm going to try to not take too much more of your time, so I'm going to hand it back over to...
And we've got citizens here and citizens watching on YouTube. Can you tell us what the hours of the library are now?
Go ahead, Jesse. I'll let you tell them
that. Our library in Hernando is now open 9 to 7, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 5 on Friday, and 10 to 5 on Saturday.
Thank you.
Glad, Mayor, that you brought that up because we did increase the hours open to the public here. Just very recently, we started opening. The library always opened at 10. Now we're opening at 9 for the convenience of your constituents. So we're excited to announce that. I would like to close, however, by respectfully asking all of you to provide level funding for the Hernando Public Library in the amount of $148,481 for fiscal year 2022. Certainly, I thank you for letting me make this request. Does anyone have any questions or anything you would like to ask while Jesse and I are here?
Any questions? I will say the budget that we'll be considering tonight has the library in here at $148,514.
Sounds wonderful. we'll be so appreciative of those extra dollars, and we'll be good stewards of it, I promise.
They have their own millage, right? That's what that
We adjust the millage to
Yeah.
get to the point where they want it, so it is set aside for you.
Thank you so much. I would love, my office is just across the street. I would love to see any of you at any time, okay? If you have any
you so
questions
much.
or concerns, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Now, if y'all want me to autograph my picture, I will.
I saw you over there. Famous, man, famous.
All right, next, Siboney, would you like to come up and talk about the chamber for a brief moment?
Yes. Well, I know all of you, I did give a list of our goals and accomplishments, which are changing every week, every day. We are still striving to be a chamber for our businesses. Y'all's support helps me not only to work for the chamber, but also to work for y'all and the city, and we just appreciate whatever y'all give us each year. And our door's always open. If there's any suggestions or anything y'all would like to see the chamber do, please reach out to me, because again, I feel like I work not only for the chamber, but for our city and for y'all also.
You're doing a great job, and we appreciate you.
We love it.
I'd like to commend her on the excellent work that she has been doing since she started her position. And she's the first executive director that attended the meetings without having a request in hand. Which is
Good point.
commendable.
We try. We love it. Love it.
Thank
love
you.
it. Thank y'all so much.
And since we're getting to the budget, I'll say in the admin part of the budget, we have a $20,000 allocation in there for y'all's approval, hopefully, later on. All right, item number 20. We need a motion, and I think there may be, did we have an official wording in here for that, or is what we've got on the agenda good enough for it? All right, we just need to authorize the Board of Aldermen and the city prosecutors to be eligible for medical insurance effective October 1, 2021. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. And next is to,
Mayor,
go right ahead, Alderman.
can we take item 21 through 28 in a block, just in the,
Madam Clerk, are you okay with us voting on those in a block, all the salaries at once? Does anybody have a problem with that? All right. We are going to make a motion on items 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26, and 27, 28,
And 28.
and 29.
and just for, those are all personnel and related to hiring people.
They are, and they are all hires for existing positions that are open. So can I have a motion for items 21 through 28?
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We now have some new employees with the city. Congratulations to y'all that are sitting out there. All right, next is item 29. Alderman Wicker, that was a great idea, by the way.
I get something every once in a while.
Item 29, authorized to pay Excavators, Inc., their pay estimate number 4 in the amount of $234,260.20 for the EWP project. Can I have a motion on that item?
So move. Cornelius Schaefer can sign off. They want to make a request, so
Right.
they monitoring the program.
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And the ayes have it, motion passes. Okay, next, this is the public hearing portion and approval of the resolution to fix the ad valorem tax levy and authorize to publish one time.
30.
Oh, did I skip ACUF?
I think you think.
I was getting ahead of myself.
30.
All right, let's authorize to pay ACUF estimate number 25 first. Can I get a
So moved.
There's a motion?
Second.
Second from Alderman Robinson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no, and the motion passes. All right, now, we will do the public hearing And because this is an official public hearing, we are now entering the public hearing section of this meeting to approve the resolution fixing the ad valorem tax levy and authorize to publish at one time. Someone like to, does anyone here want to speak on the levy? And the levy is being fixed at the same rate it was in the previous year. Okay, if there's no one here to speak on that, could I have a motion?
So move.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Okay, the next one is the approval of the resolution to establish the budget for fiscal year 2022 and authorize to publish one time. Now, this is the budget that I've sent out to everyone, which I'm pretty sure won't pass exactly as I've handed it to you, and that's not the intent. I mean, it would be the best case intent, but it's not exactly what's going to happen, I'm sure. So this is the portion where the board can talk about things in the budget, ask questions, debate, whatever y'all want to do pertaining to the budget that I gave y'all last Friday. And hopefully we will walk out of here with a consensus on a new budget. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about?
I guess just a general question for the board members, where are we, I mean, is everybody comfortable with this budget, or do we need to make some changes? Just me personally, I'm not, I don't like the pay raises that's included in this budget. I think we need to do a flat rate for everybody that works here, not just arbitrarily give department heads a certain percentage and other people a certain percentage. I don't think that's fair or right. I have some information I received from Julie with a 3% pay raise for everybody or a $2,500 pay raise for everyone. I think that's more fair and a way to do that. And I understand that the city of Hernando's pay may be out of line, but we didn't get that problem in 1 year. We're not going to get out of it in 1 year. But I think this board is committed to our employees and keep, paying them a fair wage. That's just my thoughts. I mean, no one else will say anything.
Does anybody else have opinions on that issue or other issues?
I was thinking maybe we could split it over 2 budget years to where it's, I mean, because it's quite a bit of difference for our current budget versus our new budget. I mean, it's a $2 million difference. That's, as I joked before, I'm glad it rained and our money trees were growing, but it's not really a joke. It's honestly, where's the money going to come from year after year? That's a concern for me looking at the bottom line. And like Chad said, some of these positions are very low paid. Some of them start at $10 and we're wanting to increase those, to 12 in some of our areas. But some of these other positions are a request of 20+% of an increase, which I feel like doesn't seem quite fair. And a few positions had recently had some bumps in pay that maybe don't really need this across the board 3% or whatever. So there's, it's hard to say everybody gets this or nobody gets this. So I think some numbers need to be tweaked for sure. I mean, $2 million is a lot to move into the next year. Where is it going to come from? So, and as y'all all know, everything y'all do is incredible, and we need more of y'all. But we are behind on some things as a city, but we can't do it all in one budget year. I'm just wondering if there's compromise that we could look at. Maybe instead of 5 positions, we can, work with 2 or 3, and then maybe next year look at a guarantee of adding those others. You know, instead of like some of the vehicles and some of the equipment, can we cut it in half and maybe split it to next year? That's just an idea in my mind as I'm looking at the numbers. And, you know, I was literally sweating and a little nervous. So, I mean, that's just me, who I deal with numbers all the time. But, I mean, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but does anybody else wonder where this is gonna come from year after year? And maybe we can ease into it over 2 years?
Well, I think the challenge is that you have one of the largest areas of increase of revenue that we've had year over year, budget-wise, is the sales tax. So it's a little over $1 million there. So that's essentially that in a way, that sales tax increase is what is paying these salary increases, new positions being created. There's no guarantee that $4.85 million is going to be collected in sales tax. And if we have shortfalls there, we're going to have to make some very tough decisions on potentially, you know,
Raising taxes.
where do you cut back at that point? So I think that's the challenge there for sure, because we did have a small increase with the property tax difference, but that seems to be the major revenue increase year over year is the sales tax. Now, it's based on what we've collected for the last 12 months, so we're using good data there. But just to be clear, it's not a guarantee that that's coming in at that specific level, and it may go up. Let's think positively that it does go up, but we have to consider all of the angles to this for sure. I would say that we're looking at adding to our police head count, which I think is the responsible thing to do. The workload there necessitates that. I don't think that investing and financing a building onto our existing police department is probably the wisest thing to do right now. If we're going to grow the police department over time, I'm not saying that we at some point we're going to have to look at down the road a larger police department building to house all these folks, but financing a Sally Port, $350,000 in an older building is just not. I don't think that's a wise thing. I think that's something we can cut back on, and the interest payments that are going to accrue over time is going to be, you know, additional.
So you're kind of saying we might be looking at a new building down the road if we're going to grow the force, and building something into that building might not be the wisest use of our money.
Yes.
Okay.
That's one person's opinion. Because I think if we are looking at the staffing levels that the chief has proposed and looked at, y'all already cramped for space currently. You know, so how do we manage that? How do we get together with some kind of, whether it's a 5-year plan or whatever it is, and planning for that involves looking at what our contingency fund is, building up a rainy day, if we want to call it a rainy day fund or contingency fund, whatever it is. We've got to make tough decisions now, scale back on some of these things so that we can have a contingency fund to fund some of these things.
I will say from my perspective, in this budget, many of the department heads came in with very, very valid arguments for employees that were, in some instances, grossly underpaid. Mm-hmm. And people always say you got to try to run it like a business. Well, there are very few times in government you can run it like a business. But I think one thing we can do to run it like a business is to pay a competitive wage. And I think that's where I'm headed to overall with this budget, is to be able to pay the people that work here appropriately and retain them and be able to recruit new ones. And right now in a lot of our departments, we're just not there. So I'm looking at this budget mostly as a get right on the money with the employees so we can keep them and get new ones. And let those employees know that we really are investing in them and that we're going to ask a little more of them. And we're going to ask them to find some efficiencies in this budget, not spend every penny that we've allocated if possible, and just take a little bit of a load off of them so they can think and work a little more effectively.
Well, I don't disagree with you. We seem to have this conversation every budget year. The one thing that I would say to our police and our fire in particular that we've done here is, like police, we've got 5 new hires in the budget, which is what you asked for. Fire, we've got 3 new employees in the budget, which is what you asked for. And what we've done historically is we've cut people. Instead of giving you what you've asked for there, we've cut you back 2 or 3. So I just ask you to be mindful that we're supporting your request to add people. And when it comes to pay increases, we gave an across-the-board 2% increase about 4 months ago. Mary, you had initially started with a 3% across-the-board increase for this budget. I mean, in a short period of time, that would be a 5% bump. So if we looked at the sheet of paper you sent out today with some of your recommendations on salaries, I think we could work on bringing some of those down and still be competitive and still satisfy them personally, I hope. I'm in hopes that our animal shelter committee will find a way to build a new animal shelter for less than $900,000, I hope. And then, you know, other requests that have come to us that are high dollar items, most of those are still in the budget. And we may be forced to look at some of those to help offset the 2 million shortage that we've got. So I'm just saying that I think there's room for improvement, and I think we need to look at those to make those improvements and shave the 2 million as low as we can.
Any other thoughts? Generalizations or specifics?
Well, I agree with Alderman Harris because, you know, we're planning on having a surplus of about $2 million that we're transferring over to use for this budget. And, I mean, that seems really high to me. This is my first budget year, but that seems really high. And even if we take what we have now and don't do anything next year and just leave it the same, we're going to need that $2 million to facilitate this budget, which is hard to, and then but then we wouldn't be able to spend everything that we're budgeting. So that's just like we need less of a range there.
Well, I'm afraid we're going to get in a hole moving forward because there's no guarantee there.
Right.
That's what I was wanting to know. What could we shave down just within reason of that 2 million overage?
When you say 2 million overage, what are you referring to?
Last budget and this budget. When you're looking
yeah,
at
spending more this year than last year.
spending more.
Okay.
So what are we going to do next year? I mean, we're going to have more tax revenue coming in and more businesses coming in, but still it's not a guarantee like Ben said. We're looking at, you know, what, 5 police and 3 fire?
You're looking for
Looking at 7 vehicles on the police side, 2 to replace, 5 for the new 5 hires. So, I mean, believe me, I think every single department in the city is just as important as the next. But, you know, can we possibly split it? I'm not saying split down the middle, but can we maybe get, you know, 3 instead of 5? And, you know, 5 cars instead of 7? Or, and I'm not picking on the police, so don't think I am, because I'm not. I'm just, those are the numbers in my head. 2 firefighters versus 3.
You just put a thought in my head. So this budget,
I'm using it as an example.
It has 5 new policemen, starting October 1.
Mm-hmm.
It has 3 new firemen starting October 1. What if we started half of those employees October 1, and we just made a point that we didn't hire the other half of them until 6 months into the budget year? Then we get them, but we save half of the salary, and it cuts back on this current budget year.
Good with that.
We're still heading that direction of getting them, and it may take us that long to get them anyway.
Yeah.
But that way, we're not paying all 8 of them for a full year salary. We may be paying 4 of them for a full year salary and 4 for a half year salary, which is a big amount of money difference.
It
But
is a
we're still
big
heading
amount.
towards staffing.
Right, and you're looking at the cars, you're looking at the insurance, the gas, the maintenance, you're looking at all of this that we could possibly split in time a little bit, moving forward into the next budget year, is where I'm looking at it. I mean, are y'all following me? Does it seem like something that would work and that we could give at least that, we know y'all need this, but can we try to get it closer? I mean, other tax revenue come in, maybe we can say, okay, now we can do this. I'm just afraid we're gonna get ahead of ourselves and we're gonna end up in a hole. That's my worry.
Well, if we do it like that just popped into my head, if we get 6 months into the year and our revenues are not coming in, then we could stop and amend the budget and say, oh, it's not here. And if we get 6 months in and we're all on track, then we're good to go.
And we're not extending ourselves too quickly early on.
Yeah, and it's gonna take us time to look and hire good people to start with, so I don't think
Right.
it would be, it's not exactly what we want, but it could be a good compromise. And we still get all the people by the end of the year.
Right, and we're trying to still be competitive on hiring dollars and salaries, starting hourly and salaried positions.
That's a big key in this budget,
Yeah.
is making sure we have those rates that the department heads have asked for so we can get the new hires. That's very important.
Because you're looking at the whole benefit package, not just what they're making in a salary, but everything in insurance and PERS and everything in a benefit package, which that's a big amount. Do y'all have any comments?
Yeah, the department heads have a comment on that? You don't have to have a comment, I'm just making sure. Are there any citizens out here who'd like to speak? Yes. Oh, you had a yeah, you had new ones as well, yeah.
I was just making sure that we weren't forgotten.
You're not forgotten, those are in there. Those are
Dispatch
the
is
budget.
in there.
Dispatch
Yeah,
is
it's
in there, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think for the most part, when there was a request for a new position, we put it in here, haven't we?
We have.
In every department?
We have. The only thing we're short on is the fire department asked for 5, and we put 3 in here. So, did you want to say something?
Yeah, my half department. Or the money, if we didn't get what we was asking for the pay scale, like the 2%, the $2,500 deal, wouldn't really work for us as far as keeping people in different positions, you know what I mean, as far as their pay goes. So whatever you decide to give us, we kind of go over and make it another formula just to keep them separated as far as what position you're in.
So you're saying it across the board?
No,
wouldn't-
we'd like to have it, yeah.
Right.
We don't have to give what y'all give us.
We have a scale, and if only one part of that scale moves, then there's no longer a scale there.
Right.
So we can close the gap in the scale, but we don't need it overlapping the scale.
That makes sense.
And doing it the way it's been discussed a few times, it will completely ruin the scale.
Okay.
And that's based on your level of your positions. Right.
So basically saying operate on the percentage basis versus a dollar basis, correct?
Correct.
You want to see it operate on a percentage basis versus a dollar amount.
We could do dollar or percentage, we just like to have some type of input to keep it.
Yeah.
We can't give some this and some that,
Yeah.
unless we're doing dollar lines. Or we can't make a driver start making more than lieutenant, and the lieutenant position comes open, you don't try out for it because you don't take a pay cut to get promoted. And that's the way some of there's been several discussions that if one part gets 2,500, another part gets 2%, it's gonna overlap on our positions.
Well, that was my point, is that
yeah.
it's gonna be straight across the board, either percentage wise or what, it ain't gonna be a mixture. A mixture would not work.
Yeah.
This one won't work with us, or keeping our pay scale.
A mixture won't work just about with nobody.
Yeah.
Now, we love to get that.
Well, I mean, it's just if you look at the budget percentages down the side, they're all over the place.
I still think a flat, whatever, 3% or whatever we decide is a better way to do it.
The only thing is, we were trying to get some of those $10 positions
Yeah, I
up,
think
and those
the-
aren't 3%
Yeah,
increases.
that-
I think if we bring everybody up to $12 at the minimum what we pay, it's a good idea.
We were trying to get the 10 level
Yeah,
up to
and-
12
And his
minimum.
paramedics need to get to
the medics
57 or
need
whatever.
more.
Right, so it's not an all for one in every single department, because all of y'all are paid different, and everything's scaled differently. So I understand that, and I know we all understand that, but it's just some people have got like, 20-something beside their name, and somebody else has 3, is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, some of them are just really far out of whack.
Right, so,
But yeah, another thing, remember, we didn't get out of that whack in 1 year. That's over years of time. You can't fix that in 1 year. We don't have the money to do it. So that's not the fiscally thing to do. Just, okay, because we have the money this year, it's not going to be there next year.
I'm just afraid it won't be here next year. And then you're like, okay, well, we're gonna have to cut some employees, because now we can't pay for the next payroll for the next fiscal year on some of these high percentages.
That's what I'm afraid of. I mean, the last thing we would want to do is have to let people go or decrease pay because we went too high to this year.
As far as we're concerned, I don't know what percentage by each name, but if you guys remember our discussion about trying to adjust our current personnel, like one guy that's on there, he came to us from another state. He's a 20-year cop. So if we're trying to, bring people in at a competitive wage based off of their experience, which is the right thing to do, which is what everyone is doing, then I'm not going to do it if I have to look over the men and women who are already here. So that's why, we're trying to adjust, say that one guy that so his may look like a huge raise, but all he's doing is getting bumped up to a P4 status. So I know the medics, theirs were, but if you look at one of those where the guy's, going from 22 or whatever to 25, then that's because that's an adjustment based off of his service time.
Yours aren't that large.
Yeah, and so like with our lieutenant rank is the best paid rank that we have. So on the adjustment scale, I had them in for 46 cents per hour. So if we did a flat $2,500, then that's a dollar, that would go, or just over $1 that would go to them, and that's not appropriate when, when we've got others at these other levels that need to be brought up. So that's why we're trying to fix this scale.
You're trying to level it out, but that's like one person's a 2%. Because you're trying to level them out to everybody else that's in that.
I'm trying to get it wrong.
Right. Yeah, yours aren't crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen this, but I know based off of that, just like Chief Berry is saying, we've got to fix this scale, because I know they lose a ton of folks, and rightfully so. If paramedic can make however much more somewhere else, I get it, because it comes down to dollars and cents, and I've been doing this longer than anybody other than Alderman Miller, and I've sat through a bunch of these, but when we look at, from our perspective, from the police, you guys saw the stats, you see where we're at. Our people they're just at their end of work. I mean, they've been running from can to can. We're not even, when we look at those numbers, we're not even talking about the people that have been out on light duty. I've got one guy, he's out for a solid year. I got one guy, we're waiting on his medical paperwork to come in, medical retirement. I've had 2 cancer this year. So I fully understand that we need to be the best stewards of the money. I get it. But we've got to take, we've got to take a hard look at this and try to get it, it's at least for public safety, and I'm not just talking about us. I mean, I talk to Chief Berry all the time about this. And we're just really, really far behind. You're exactly right. We can't fix it in 1 year. If we could, I'd be asking for 20 people. And that's just honesty.
So on these new 5, how long do you think it'll take you to fill those positions?
It's on what our pay scale is.
With what you're asking?
I mean, if
Hold on, so I've got to stop you right there, Chief. Your pay scale is not that far out of whack. That is just not accurate for you to say that. I can't let that go on any longer. I'm sorry.
With what position?
With all those police departments, that is just not accurate. I'm sorry.
So you're saying the numbers that I provided are false?
I didn't say they were false, but you say you're acting like you're 20-something%. You guys are right in line with everybody else. That you're not that far behind in DeSoto County. And I think it's very inappropriate for you to talk about the lieutenants not getting a pay raise, but you ask for a 12% pay raise for yourself. I don't think what does that mean? I got to stop you there when you start just saying stuff that's just not accurate.
I'm just saying.
In your opinion, you need to say in my opinion because that's your opinion. That's not the truth.
Well, Alderman Wickard, what you're saying is your opinion.
I said that my opinion is that the police department pay is relatively in line with everybody else in DeSoto County, and you know it is.
Well, we watched a little slideshow that he presented that showed different ones.
I didn't say anything about it. I let it go. I wasn't trying to confront him, but he sits here over and over and says that the pay is out of whack, and that's just not accurate. That's just not accurate.
You've got the numbers that we're the lowest paid in the county.
I didn't say you wasn't the lowest paid, but you act like you're 20-something% difference, and you're not. And the South Haven Police Department is not the Hernando Police Department. It's completely different. You know that.
Sure it is.
Well, most of these on here are 6% and 7% raises with a couple of 12% ones in the police department.
And the 12% are the command staff. Am I right or wrong?
Let me look at it.
Yes.
One of them is there. Yes, they are.
But now the department head, raises, the request for raises came from your recommendation, correct?
They did. I sent all of y'all a sheet for 4 department
They did not.
Yeah, Alderman, that's true, but all he did was follow what the chief gave. He didn't change anything.
Well, I just agreed with what the chief had given me.
I understand, but I mean, that's what he recommended for himself.
So I've listened to Alderman Piper at the end of the table talk about the Sally Port, and it might not be the wisest use of our money to spend capital on a building that we might not occupy for a long period of time. And then when y'all were talking about the salaries and maybe not having as many people and worrying about the revenue, which are valid concerns, if we remove the Sally Port out of this budget, and then we look at all the new hires, police, fire, dispatch, whichever new hires we had, and just say we're going to hire half of those new hires 6 months into the year instead of at the beginning of the year, that cuts a significant amount. And it gives us the opportunity that if we see as a board that these revenues are not coming in like projected, then we could amend the budget and say, well, we're not going to hire those other ones. But if they're still coming in like we projected, then we do. Then we're being fiscally prudent. We get 6 months into the budget year, we're looking at our numbers. We're not taking chances there.
And leaving the pay rate like they requested?
Yes, the pay rates as they requested, so we can recruit good people and satisfy our people who are working hard for us today as well.
Could I ask this question? I asked this from the dispatch supervisor.
Yes, sir.
Would the 6 months work for you? I don't think that would work for dispatch. On the new position.
With now what we have,
I'm asking.
right, the two that we just hired, so one of them is certified, one is not, so we will have to certify her. The other came from all the breaks, so she's already familiar with our system. She's just kind of gonna learn the Hernando way, so that would make us fully staffed. Currently, without the two. If we were to do a
Well, that's what I'm just asking, that's my question.
Yeah, I could work it to where the one.
One and one, you could,
I could do that.
that's the only problem I'm really concerned about.
'Cause you-
If we, if we did it, but.
Well, you're replacing
Because
somebody,
you have
aren't you?
You have your part-time, or would they still be available?
The part-time would, they would be the first one called for the full-time positions,
Uh-huh.
but essentially, the part-time would be eliminated, and we would just have two full-time.
But if you held the full-time till a little bit later, you still have those part-time people for now?
For now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? She can work it, that's all I want to make sure. That's the only problem that I really be concerned about,
Well, you were short, you're down one in that,
Currently now, because they just got hired on, so,
okay, so,
but those still two current positions.
okay.
Any other thoughts?
We'll save that 350 on the salary.
Possibly, yes. We wouldn't be borrowing that money and paying the note on it if that's what y'all did.
And I'm a little bit different as it relate to about a new building and things like that, because with the cost of building a building, a $350,000 investment in safety and everything else in Sallyport is definitely needed. And there's a lot of square footage in that building is unused now that could be converted to use. Because like you was talking about converting some of that already as it relate to the Sallyport. And that piece of real estate down there, you talking about a building that's already paid for, that have no indebtedness on it at all. And the tenants, as we speaking now, the tenants that we have in there, I think we just got 2 left now, if I'm not mistaken.
The Literacy Council and the Election Council.
So we got 2 left in there, so it's gonna, in the coming future, that we could even, when those leases come up, if the police department said that we needed that space to expand, we got the opportunity not to renew leases and to expand in that building. Am I correct, Chief?
Yes.
So it's some opportunity down there presently where we are for expansion by just not renewing leases. And I think all of us in long term, I'm talking about long term, I'm talking about years down the road, that we looking at, got conceptual plans for Renaissance Park. And in the conceptual plans for Renaissance Park, it has in there a facility and things like that, so you'll be looking at, down the road, I ain't talking about, in the next year or two, that the park department will even be vacating that building, bringing up, more space. So, and now, there again, if that's, if that's something the board want to just look at, the lane and looking at that in 6 months, with the same time we're looking at the new house, I would like to consider that more than just eliminating it all the way.
So you want to consider the 350 for the building addition?
Down the road, in 6 months, to look at it and see, see where we're at again. But just to totally eliminate it, I don't think,
What if you shave 2 officers, which you would only have to borrow half of it? For full salaries, you're almost borrowing just half. I mean, you're saving 142.
I think you'd rather have the police officers.
You'd rather have the officers than the,
most definitely.
I'm just trying to offset some of the cost and the, but still get what's needed too.
Our biggest issue is personnel.
Personnel?
I don't think I'm saying, you take out the budget and just have open mind and look at it in 6 months, that's all.
I mean, we might run across some, I don't know if not real versed on grants and all that type stuff, and things that can be building improvements for
We have
safety.
to also understand, that, we talking about years down the road, the AWG money gonna start filtering in here soon too. That's gonna be additional revenue. And this is the projection on the growth is very minimum. It wasn't a high projection. Am I correct, Mayor?
In this current budget, right, we're not projecting.
It's not projected high.
When will
What's
the,
not projected high?
The revenue
The
growth.
revenue projection is relative low, you know.
what's projected to come in from AWG?
Well, those numbers, we'll be looking at those numbers.
It won't be this year.
It won't be this year, that's what I'm saying, it won't be this year.
When
it'll
it
be
comes,
the
it'll
next.
be about 170 to 180,000 more than we're paying out. Because we have expenses that we're incurring as part of their incentive package.
Alderman Miller, with your participation in MML, have there been any discussion with, I know the state legislators looking about possibly cutting income tax out, and maybe increasing some of the sales tax and decreasing the grocery tax and different things?
That's still a debate between the House and the Senate.
Yeah, but that may be something that may affect our sales tax numbers next year or the year after.
Yeah.
There's so much uncertainty as well.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that's when I said it's very low projection, you know.
I mean, the numbers are in the right direction right now, but nothing's 6 months from now or a year
And
from
of
now.
course, if they start eliminating the income tax, there's a lot of people at a certain income level in Memphis who are dying to move here, and that's the only thing holding them up. So our growth can kick
I
up
think they're
a little
also
too.
talking about cutting the grocery tax, so I don't know how that would affect, I don't know if we get some revenue out of that or what, but.
But again, when they did the study on state tax and everything else, DeSoto County was very unusual. We had one of the highest growth, even with state income tax. So what they're saying, state income tax did not stop the growth here in DeSoto County. So what I'm saying, I think that we're gonna still consider to see the same thing, whether they have the state income tax or not in this particular county. We have no crystal ball on these, I guess.
So here's a couple of things I've heard that seem fairly like a consensus, if there is such a thing. On the Sally Port, I've heard remove it and then look at it again in 6 months. But I've also heard leave it in the budget, but let's not start building it. Let's leave it in the budget, but just don't do it for 6 months. Kind of like we're talking with the new hires, where we put it in the budget and half of them start 6 months from now, April 1, half of them could start immediately. Not that they're all going to start October 1, we can't find them all October 1 anyway, but, and that saves quite a bit of money right there. Is there anything else I'm missing? Was there anyone that would like to make a motion on the budget? Was some of those items included in the motion?
I'll make a motion. I'm not sure I'm gonna word this exactly the way you need for it to be, so coach me through it, but I'll make a motion that we move forward with the budget contingent upon a review in 6 months of the Sally Port $350,000 expenditure, the $665,000 plus another $230 approximately in the budget for the animal shelter, approximately $900,000, I'll say. That we review that as the committee has an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
That we keep, that we keep in the budget the request in every department for new hires, but where possible, we delay hiring some of those people until 6 months down the road. What else was mentioned?
Those are the only things I had mentioned just now. And to clarify, I think I heard you say on the animal shelter that we still got the 900,000 loan, 665 a loan and 235 from the bond money, which totals 900,000 on the animal shelters in the budget, contingent upon the committee meeting with Doug and getting bids in and all that.
Yeah, it may end up
Less.
that when we get the architectural designs, that we have to spend 900,000. I'm just saying that if there's any way we can save 100,000 and still have a professional shelter, great, that's 100,000 saved. We didn't discuss the backup ambulance, I don't think, but that's something
It's in the
that has
budget.
to
It's in the
happen.
budget. It is in this budget.
It's in the budget, and we need for that to happen, right? Can't delay that. So I'll make the motion based on those conditions as discussed.
There is a motion from Alderman Harris on the table. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Alderwoman Lynch, second. Madam Clerk, we'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Robinson?
Aye.
Alderman Wicker?
No.
Alderwoman Ross?
No.
Alderman Piper?
Can I have a point of clarification?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're leaving the 350,000 in?
No.
No, no.
No, so that's,
No, we'll bring that back up in 6 months.
okay. Aye.
Alderman Harris?
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch?
Aye.
Alderman Miller?
And the budget has passed. We'll make those changes and get it published. Thank you all for the hard work. It's been a tough one. Okay, we'll move on to item 33, the approval of the MOU from the Department of Finance Administration to receive the funding appropriated Senate Bill 2948 of not more than $250,000 to assist in paying the cost associated with repair to its streets. After speaking with our senator who helped get this money appropriated for us, we will do the MOU, but I want to make sure everybody knows we're going to leave that in an account separate until more funding comes from the Senate and use it appropriately for the intersection of 51 Oak Grove. Just for clarification.
That's specifically for that one product,
Yes,
one project,
it is. That's
correct?
what Alderman McClendon worked out.
Right, that's what I thought.
So until we know something different than that, we're just going to leave it alone and leave it sitting there. It won't be being spent in this budget until y'all vote on something for certain. So can I have a motion to approve the MOU?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to open a separate bank account for those funds with the signatures of me, the city clerk, the bookkeeper, and Julie Gates.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to adopt the DeCrua map. Y'all had a map folded up in here, a color map. Joe, are y'all going to tag team it, or are you going to do it?
Oh, I'll start out and BJ will correct me if I say something wrong.
Just so y'all know, Joe Frank is the City of Hernando's representative on the Regional Sewer Authority Board. We also have the added benefit of BJ being the chairman of the DeCrua Board. So we're going to remember that.
Okay. Yeah, I am your representative. You either vote for me or against me every 4 years, depending on what you desire to happen as your representative on the board. I think BJ and myself and Barry Bridgeforth are the original members of the board, which I guess almost 20 years, isn't it? 21, okay. So the first couple of years, as we met, we thought about the idea of the cities having, I guess, territories that would be expected to be their retail area. And so we put together a map, which is very similar to the same map you have there, probably almost identical to it. And so we went on for years and years and years, up until about last year when Olive Branch decided they were going to start annexing some big areas. We kind of thought about, well, how does that annexation going to affect maybe the retail area that we thought we voted on years ago. So we researched it and found out we never did vote on it. We never did vote to adopt as the crew board and as the cities wanted a kind of a retail idea of a area that everybody would sort of agree on. We did find out that Olive Branch did vote on the map and approved the map. So that's what you have before you tonight. The crew board wants to have a map, official map that's been adopted by all the members of the board, the cities, that we can kind of go by. And so that is the map. Of course, there's some areas left off the map that we don't have any sewer service in. And so I don't guess anybody's wanting to mark that area off as part of their service area, because there's actually nothing there to serve, really, as far as having sewer lines and service in that area. But
And so basically, what we're discussing here is just each one of the cities voting independently to send y'all back as representatives of the DeCrua board to make these legal and official areas within DeCrua.
that's correct.
I would think that down the road, if we've all adopted this and all the cities agreed to it, that's probably going to help a lot to keep annexation battles down. If we own the sewer territory, that's a huge arguing point for not letting someone else annex an area that might be in our growth pattern one day, and vice versa. I think it could save lots of money from cities fighting annexation battles like we just saw happen.
I guess that is the idea. Utilities in DeSoto County, are water and sewer and gas are just all mixed. I mean, it's different franchises within different cities, and not a lot of things that really, a lot of overlaps in the county as far as franchised areas. So this is really not giving some city a franchising right to that area. It's just an agreement that hopefully we'll all agree on, that kind of this is your territory and this is our territory, and kind of that angle to it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just add a little bit to that.
Yes, sir.
Part of this also, we have such an issue, as Joe Frank pointed out, with like all the different water districts in the county, and some of the water districts have sewer certificates, like the Walls Water over on the west side of the county also has a sewer certificate, out in the Delta somewhere. And, as we have found development moving further south, into the county, the question becomes, do we want to see those areas wind up with all these little certificated sewer districts? Or would we rather have, a city be the retail agent for that development? We've had to confront that a couple of times over on the east side of the county. And so one of the things I did want to point out was, for example, on your maps, it shows the current proposal for the Hernando retail area in pink, you know, that can be expanded. You know, the areas to the south and west that are in gray, you know, are not currently designated as a retail area. So that certainly is something that can be adjusted. But that's kind of what the thinking was in terms of, you know, trying to get the map approved at this point in time.
So if we approve it and the other cities approve it, and then the Regional Sewer Authority approves it, does this become enforceable as a certificated area through the Public Service Commission? So
Well,
so nobody can come into this light pink area and usurp our sewer area?
Well, see, here's the deal. Because I want to be very careful about this, because DeCrua, in a sense, is a different kind of animal. In the private and local bill that sets up DeCrua, it specifically exempts us from control by the Public Service Commission.
Okay.
Okay? So what we do, you know, the Public Service Commission has nothing to say about. Okay? In terms of the retail areas, you know, what this map does is, if we have a developer that comes in and wants to develop a subdivision, whether he's, you know, hooking on to the DeCrua system, or whether he's wanting to put in a separate little treatment plant for his subdivision, you know, we can legally tell him, well, you're in the Hernando certificate, you know, you're in the, within the Hernando service area, so you got to go talk to them. You know, they're the retail agent for this area, okay? Which means, ultimately, you know, he would dedicate those improvements to the city, and it would become part of your system. You know, and those people, whether they were inside the city or outside the city, you know, would be, you'd be their billing agent. You know, they would be paying you, you know, for that sewer service.
Is everybody clear on that? Anybody have any concerns or further questions of either of these two?
So your answer to the franchising, does that give us a franchising right? The answer is yes and no to that.
Yeah, that's
It
what I
really
gathered.
doesn't give us a franchising right. It just puts us in a position to
Well, you see, before.
fend off other people trying to.
Right. Basically,
have
you know,
service.
anyone that, you know, is developing in DeSoto County, you know, if they're going to have sewer service, whether it's, like I said, part of the DeCrua system or its own little certificated area, they have to get a permit from DeCrua. You know, we're the reviewing agent, you know, and we have to give them a permit before they can do anything. All right? And like I said, the service area map becomes our basis for telling them, you know, if you want a permit, this is what you got to do.
Yep.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
It's a motion to approve by Alderman Piper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Miller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. It's a unanimous vote. You'll take that back to the DeCrua board, Joe Frank.
All right, thank you.
Next is, GIA is wanting to apply for a Mississippi Humanities Council primetime reading time grant for the XL by 5 program. And when we apply for a grant, we have to get permission from the board. So we would like y'all's permission to apply for that grant. Motion from Alderman Robinson. Alderman Wicker, were you the second?
Sure, second.
Alderman Wicker's the second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no, and that motion passes. The Kudzu Playhouse is wanting to use the community center on certain dates that we have already cleared through the Gale Center as being open, and talk to them about it. They want to use it at no charge on these certain dates. Everybody's in accordance with that.
Make a motion to approve.
It's a motion by Alderman Wicker.
Could you, in your motion, could you include waiving
Waiving the fee.
the
Cleaning fee.
cleaning fee?
Cleaning fee, yeah, I'll waive the cleaning fee.
Waive the cleaning fee and the rental fee.
I'll second that.
There's a second by Alderman Miller. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to approve the utility adjustment docket.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And for the first time in a long time, I need a motion to adjourn, not to recess. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. This meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all.